Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new, I'm Katie and welcome to another Bookish adventure. So today I thought I would talk about some of the top books that are currently on my wish list. So my wish list doesn't really have like a set, like my highest priorities at the top. It is more just as and when I add to them and then remembering to take them off when I haul them myself. So recently I have been buying quite a lot from my wish list, kind of proud of myself. I've been trying to work a lot on reading books I actually own, and this year when I got Gavin to pick my TBR, he did pick a lot of books I actually already owned, or I maybe owned like the first couple. So I've really more just been working on trying to work through books I actually do own, and the only books I've really been buying majoritively have been books to read this year, with the odd few books of I just wanted. But I feel like I've been quite good. So at the start of the year I did a video which was how many books are currently on my own TBR, and it was definitely well over 100, like not great. Maybe like 110, 112 or something. I can't quite remember because obviously I do have duplicates of certain books. I've looked on Goodreads and currently it says I have 98 books. So I have definitely worked on that number. Whenever I have been buying books this year, I have been more buying for books I want to read this year as opposed to just little treats for myself. However, the second I'm taking books off my wish list, I'm forever adding. So the books I'm going to share with you today, which is really hard to kind of narrow some down, is more if like money wasn't an object right now and I wasn't being good and only reading books that I want to read this year, this is definitely these are books I would just so go and splurge on. So the first book we have is Sorcery of Thorns. So this is a book that I'm seeing all over Bookstagram right now. It is just everywhere, and I kind of bookmarked it as I look. I'll come back to it because I have this thing about hyped books. I just don't like it, just kind of get me away from it. And also I kind of thought, do I really want to go down the route of another series? And then when I finally looked into it, I saw it as a standalone, I was like, my prayers have been answered. For a very long time, very long ago, I had been wanting to try and find more books with witchcraft, and I just felt like I hadn't really quite found the one yet, and I'm hoping this one will kind of fill that void for me and lead me to some other ones. So this book is based around sorcery and witchcraft, and it's about a young woman who not lives in a library, but she was like brought up aware of like magical objects, and there's this library full of stuff, and basically sorcery is bad, it is not good. And then one day a grimoire, one of the baddest grimoires there are, is I think taken from the library, and she is sort of implicated in it and gets sucked into this world of, as always, the bigger plot. I have been seeing some amazing things about this book, so I'm trying not to let the hype kind of guide me on this, which is probably why I probably won't read this just for a little while yet, because I don't like just getting sucked in because of the hype. So the next book is Hold Back the Tide by Melinda Salisbury. So I read her Sin Eater's trilogy, the Sin Eater's Daughters trilogy a good while ago, and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with the characters. She just, oh gosh, she got me so emotionally. But for some reason I haven't quite gone towards her next duology, State of Sorrow, and I'm not sure why. But then I saw this book and then I was like, oh okay. So Hold Back the Tide, there is not much known about this book. When you go onto Goodreads, there is very little in the way of a synopsis, and I think more than anything that's what's made me like, I want to read this. I obviously saw it on her Instagram and I was like, holy crap, she's writing something else and it is a standalone. But yeah, there is nothing about this really. So I sort of tried to have a look at some reviews just to skim for a general idea of what the plot is, because I don't want to like throw spoilers in my face by accident. From what I can grasp of it, it is a young woman who lives in, I think, a very isolated part of Scotland with her dad. However, her dad is a murderer, or is believed to be a murderer, and she basically lives in fear of him and his, I guess, potential mood swings. And it's just this very tense and thrilling book, I think. And I've been trying to get slightly away from fantasy and maybe read some more in the thriller genre, because it is something I love to watch. I think the fact that I don't really know what this book is about is also kind of like appealing to me, like going into it blind. Next up we have Queen of Hearts by Colleen Oakes. So I'm pretty sure that Alice in Wonderland was like the first retelling I read of fairy tales, and I think it is what got me into fairy tale retellings and opened the world for me. But since then I haven't really read many. I read Heartless by Melissa Meyer and it was okay. I didn't love it. I feel like a lot more people just love that book, and I was a bit like, I don't really, it didn't quite hit all the buttons for me. So yeah, for some reason I haven't read many Alice in Wonderland retellings. I read Splintered, which was by H.G. Howard, and I didn't love that either, and I don't know, I'm just finding it hard to find ones that I like. This one focuses on the Queen of Hearts in her younger days, Dinah, and it is her trying to just win her father's approval, and it is this being thrown into like the political side of Wonderland, and there is a darkness that is brewing. There is obviously something that is brewing in within her. So I'm guessing by like it's pretty much going to chart her just descent, I guess, into madness and becoming who she's going to be. And whether or not, I don't know, we're going to go down the Alice in Wonderland route and have the two stories come together, or if this is just going to focus on her, I don't know. But it is 3 books and it's been on my wishes for a long time, I think, because I was just on like a massive kind of fairy tale retelling binge, and I've recently went through my wish list just to go back through it, see if I was still interested in these books, and I was like, you know what, yes I really am. The next book we have is Tithe by Shani Lynn Freena. I think that's how you say her name. This is a book that I've seen on Bookstagram like twice, and I won't lie, I got sucked in by the cover. I mean, come on, what can I say? I feel like it's a relatively unknown book, which does not matter to me. Like, a book is a book, and it is about Fae, and yay! So, oh God, this is a problem with having these. I have been meaning to read more Holly Black because she's like the queen of the fairy tales, and I eventually want to get to her. But anything about Fae, it is a naturally appealing fantasy genre for me. I like it. I feel like there's a lot where you can go with this. In this, she gets cursed to have this sight which can see Fae, and it is a curse that has sent many women into an early grave. I think it turns you mad. And then every so many years, there's an opportunity for said cursed people to sort of fight it out for the chance to win, I guess, your freedom and to have it lifted. So she goes into this, and it becomes one of those things where, do you trust the person who you've always trusted, or do you trust the mysterious stranger? You know, is this competition really what it seems to be? I think so far I know there are 2 books. I don't know if it's just a duology or if there's more to come, but I don't know. I think the fact that it is kind of relatively unknown, I really like the idea of, and also I'm hoping that it gets me more down the route of finding more Fae books, and I will obviously go down the route of Holly Black because I mean to, it's there. Next up we have The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. So I mean, come on, fairy tale retelling, what can I say? I have like 1 mermaid book, I think, that is it. I probably have another one that maybe I just can't remember. I have 2 mermaid books. I have 2. After I read those, I really wanted to find more. So this is a retelling of The Little Mermaid, so I really don't need to go into what this is, because if you don't know what The Little Mermaid is, then I mean, where was your childhood? So yeah, it is, you know, wanting to get away from her overbearing father, meeting a human, falling in love. I don't know how much of the route of like losing the voice we'll go into, who knows? But I mean, the cover alone is just stunning. But yeah, I just want to find more mermaid books. I think for a long time I've wanted to find a specific books to find, and it is witches and it is mermaids. I think because vampires and werewolves and fairies to a degree have always had their big kind of like we're a thing. The moment we've got strong heroines, whether they are saving kingdoms or they are queens of kingdoms, there is a certain type of book that is out right now, and it is a book I like, but I have my little pockets that I want to find and fill. Next we have is Circe by Madeline Miller. So this and A Song of Achilles I really want to read because I love Greek mythology, any mythology, just love it. But Stephen Fry has just really reignited that love for me. So his mythology series is just bringing back why I love it. I keep seeing her books, and then I finally looked into it and I was like, oh my god. So I'm aware tears will happen, especially with Song of Achilles. I'm not quite ready to do that yet. Probably not ready to do Circe either. But yeah, so she is born of 2 gods, but she ends up living in the mortal world. However, she does have gifts of witchcraft, and so she comes across, you know, various famous Greeks from the stories that we know, so people like Daedalus and her son Icarus, and just some other people, and as well as the monsters as well. However, she's a powerful lady, and that causes her to, you know, enemies, gods and mortals alike. And I think it's going to come down to that, where does she belong with the humans that she kind of like has a fondness for, or where she really comes from. So yeah, I am really looking forward to reading that. Anything mythology wise I just think is amazing. I just think they're just great stories, and especially for retellings or just as a launch pad to go off. But I'm also aware of the sheer heartbreak that I think is going to come with these books. So lastly, these books are more just an indulgence than anything. These are books I have already read and I just want to actually physically own. When I first started reading Neil Gaiman, I binged a lot of it in one hit, and I pretty much read it all on Kindle except for Stardust, Coraline, Odd and the Frost Giants, and the Graveyard book. Those are pretty much are the only ones I own, and I now want to go back and reread some of these books, because after watching Good Omens and after watching American Gods, it's just reminded me how much I love his storytelling and the worlds that he created. There are a few that I now want to collect, and I really want to get Neverwhere, which is illustrated by Chris Riddle, because the minute them two team up, I get so excited. So Neverwhere is about this, you have London, and then you have what's underneath London. You have the underground, and it's about this hapless chap, Richard, who ends up, from a simple act of kindness, if I remember rightly, he ends up discovering this magical world of below. So it's like Stardust. You have across the wall, and you have all the magic and all that stuff. You have monsters, and just, it's just so cool. And I remember loving it and just thinking, oh my god. So I really want to own that. There's also a new edition of Odd and the Frost Giants, I think by a different illustrator, or maybe it might be with Chris Riddle. That might be what I want. This is my problem. That's probably why I want it. I've also found an amazing illustrated version of The Ocean at the End of the Lane. That story is a little bit more hazy to me. I remember it being very weird and very creepy, and which is why I really want to go back to it, because I don't remember it as vividly, but I remember it's about a guy who goes back to his like home village for a funeral, and when he was younger something happened to him, and he met this girl and her grandmother, and there is something about them. Some incident happens that involves the both of them. I can't quite remember what it is. I don't have a great reference for it, but I just know something. So I would really like to revisit that. There is also obviously American Gods. I would like to actually own that and reread it, because it's been a very long time. Still need to get his copy of Norse mythology. Dear god, there's a lot of his stuff, and I think recently I saw that his Sandman comics is being made for Audible with like a massive cast, and I'm like, oh okay. So this, yeah, the Neil Gaiman section is definitely just more of an indulgence for me than more than anything. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to hit that like button, and as always comment below. If you're new, hit the subscribe button, and of course ding the bell to never miss a video. Hope you had a good weekend and bank holiday. Right now it is grey as hell, windy as anything. Yesterday glorious sunshine, today awful. So hopefully it's perked up for bank holiday and I got to go on my very long walk.